OECDC is the Office of Genetic Counseling and Disabled Children. One special sponsor from Los Angeles is the Mariki Simpson, my friend.
Hi. We have a shop down there, and it's a non-profit. We have beautiful eco-friendly item, and all money returns for humanitarian aid. The first time I met Dr. Nyan was through a phone call in which I suggested that it would be possible to fund heart surgeries, not collecting donations, but selling items produced in Vietnam. And he laughed. He did not believe it was possible. I also told them that I needed an interpreter because I do not speak Vietnamese. And Dr. Nhan said, no, you won't need an interpreter because you're going to be working with deaf and mute or hearing impaired students. You have to imagine that disability in a poor country is not really treated like disability here. So if you are disabled, there are very little services that can help you to overcome or improve your conditions. So very often, a disabled child in Vietnam is just kept home and very little assistance is given to the family.
They receive the training for lip reading, but it's not easy for them because they will understand what you want to say. But they cannot tell with you what they want to talk, and not good. So they develop their in-house sign language. And they can keep in touch together, but only between their group.
It's really amazing to see how a disabled, deaf and mute artisan is able to sell the person does not hear and does not talk, but still somehow they are able to sell alone. Of course, it has to do with the history of the war. I think we all carry on our consciousness the responsibility of the horrible things that happened during the war. In the outskirts of Milano, there was a factory called Dic Mesa that was known as the perfume factory. This factory one day in July of 1976 exploded, and a tremendous cloud appeared in the sky. Nobody knew how to move or what to do about it. But then the truth came out, and this factory was really producing defoliant. I kind of had an immediate perception of the horrific consequences that the spraying would have caused in time. And it was really there that I felt that one day I would have done something.
My father, VC, my uncle, and the Southern Soldier, and in the Test Festival of the 1968 in the country, a lot of the VC died, a lot of the South Soldier died, bomb, cannon, and anything. And the plant, the spray, the Agent Orange, and all the kinds of herbicide every day in the sky.
These are the structural formulas for 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid and 2,4,5-trichlorophenoxyacetic acid, commonly known as 2,4-D and 2,4,5-T. From these chemicals are made a large number of closely related compounds, which are sold commercially for weed and brush control. The purpose of this film is to illustrate how such concentrates were used to kill vegetation, hindering military operations. There, a dense growth of trees and shrubs was hindering observation of much of the impact areas in the artillery ranges. It was too hazardous to send men and ground-clearing equipment into these areas. Therefore, the Chemical Corps was asked to undertake the job of clearing the vegetation by using chemicals applied as an aerial spray. In just a few hours after spraying, weeds and some of the more sensitive shrubs exhibited leaf curl and stem curvature.
1994, I made my PhD and I selected a study, the research, the relationship between exposing to Agent Orange of the parent and the birth defect in their children. When compare the rate of some kind of the common birth defect, I can see that some are not different. For example, cleft palate, no, maybe cleft lip, no different. But cleft palate, different. We didn't have enough the good equipment. We didn't have enough the good epidemiological study to make sure there is a relationship between exposing to Agent Orange and some kinds of the defects.
As stated by the Institute of Medicine in their 2008 update on the effects of Agent Orange, the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. According to the Institute of Medicine, National Academy of Sciences, the strongest evidence is for spina bifida neural tube defects, which is a condition affecting sometimes the brain and the spinal cord. Put very simply, the spinal cord doesn't fuse correctly. And it can lead to minor disability or very severe disability. Offspring of American military personnel who served in Vietnam are eligible for health care services and compensation if they have that particular disability. Generally, any birth defect that appears in a birth occurring to a woman, an American woman who served in Vietnam, qualifies her for benefits because it's assumed to have been potentially caused by Agent Orange.
I want to tell you that the heart defect is the most common defect for all the world, not only for Vietnam. It's the multifactorial genetic defects. That means combined between the genetic and environment. And what is the role of the Agent Orange or dioxin? I'm not sure. I'm scientific. We need a research to talk about it.
Well, from 2001 to 2005, I was on a grant from the NIEHS, National Institutes of Environmental Health Sciences, trying to start a study to see if we could show an association between the presence of dioxins with the incidence of birth defects in children being born today to women who had those dioxins in their bloodstream. Two Dean Emeriti, one from Albany School of Public Health in New York, and one, the founding dean of the Hanoi School of Public Health, where the people who had actually designed the study. And it was a complicated study and a difficult study. With the situation with Agent Orange and the dioxins, which are the active problematic component, is that the birth defects that they might well cause were there anyway. Let's just say that the dioxins and the concentrations that we would find in women giving birth in the parts of Vietnam that were sprayed, among those women, 4 out of 1,000 has a cleft palate. And we would really only expect 1. So you have 4 children, 1 probably would have had it anyway, and 3 probably would not have. But there's no way to distinguish between those 2 groups, so to speak. So the best you can hope to do is what we were going to do, a case control study that would show an association. You couldn't say for sure that it was cause and effect, but everyone knows that that's as close as you could come, and it would have been, I think, an important study had it been done and had it showed an association.
When I set up the medical examination for the disabled children in countryside and in Hue, not only in countryside, in city, I have seen by my eye a lot of disabled children never received any help. A lot of the children with mental retardation, including Down syndrome, never went to school. I think it's that time helped me a lot to change my idea and to help me to set up a strategy for helping the disabled children in Vietnam. Yeah.
The issue of who owes whom what after war is always addressed. After World War II, we did a very good thing. I think people think the Marshall Plan in Europe, even though a lot of it went to people countries that were involved in starting the war. Yet in Vietnam, where all the fighting took place in this one small, dirt-poor country, half a world away from the U.S., somehow nothing was done. We can't look back, we can't undo what we did. I wish we could. But looking forward is possible. It's in tune with kind of the Vietnamese ethos. They are very optimistic and very forward-looking people, and just as they work very hard to invest in their future, we could help them and do some investing in children and therefore in the future from our side. It's a very good way to go, I think.
Thanks to Dr. Nhan's project, they discovered that together they are real strengths, while alone they are very little, like all of us.